Hello again, Internet. Welcome back to No Sub Needed. I'm Gino. Today, for this episode, we're doing a beer talk episode. So, beer in hand, we're going to talk some unpopular opinions. Today's topic, Bose speakers. And at the end of the video, I will also tell a story of the time Bose gave me a free $4,000 sound system. So, that's definitely one of my favorite stories of flipping speakers, and we'll get to that in a minute. So Bose, this is probably one of the most inflammatory audiophile kind of, well, this is how to piss off audiophiles. You just say Bose. Pretty easy. And, you know, honestly, I never owned any Bose speakers before flipping them in college. When I got into audio, I liked Bose speakers, but they were too expensive for me because I was a teenager. Cleaning my grandma's houses and stuff for cash to buy speakers. And all their stuff was just extremely expensive for a teenager, so I never really owned any of it. Later, I got into audiophile speakers immediately, but later on in college, I was kind of broke, and I would see people selling Bose speakers for way too little. I'd pick them up, listen to them for a few months, and then sell them for a profit a couple months down the line. I did this with a lot of speakers, and I actually owned a lot of their products. Behind me is, this one's from the 1980s, about 86 is I think when they started manufacturing these. So they're more than 30 years old. Again, we see their direct reflection technology with these, a lot of people call them twiddlers, giant tweeters. These ones sound like trash. These big tweeters are terrible. They're kind of sharp, and they're just very 80s sounding. Not my favorite speaker in the world, but I am fixing this pair for a friend actually because she likes the teak veneer. So I'm looking for a replacement woofer for these ancient things if anyone knows where to find one. So Omar Bose, he started at MIT, I think in the 1950s. And I think he described it as like, hey, everyone's like way smarter than I am. Studied really hard and ended up becoming an MIT professor. He sold these speakers, which I think there's only one pair of them in existence today. His first model, I think it was I want to say the 1801 or the 8801. I think it was the 1801. And basically it was like if you were to take like a quarter sphere chunk out of a sphere, it was like a giant corner speaker with all these sort of speakers in it. And a lot of cancellation, as you'd expect with a design like that. No one really bought them. I believe he sold them door to door. And then eventually came out with the 901, which is a speaker with, everyone's seen the 901. One speaker facing forward and doing your direct radiation, and then you have two banks of 4 speakers on each side facing directly at the rear wall. This was, it was a speaker that I always made fun of. I owned a pair, and, I also read, there was a review that someone actually measured them online. And, I found it interesting they actually measured them jaggedly and kind of, not super flat, but into the 20 hertz range, which a 20 hertz speaker that you can hear bass that low is fun in any respect, I think. So I had a pair, and I thought they were awesome, especially for like hip hop and rap. They had a nice weighty bass. You could jam the shit out of them, and no worries about it blowing at all because there were so many speakers, and they were all full range speakers, so you didn't have that problem of an amp clipping and shattering the tweeter into pieces. Those were cool speakers. One of my favorite contraptions I had of his was the video wave. I had so back in the early 2010s, Bose actually made a TV that had a surround sound built in the frame. So and this TV, it was extremely expensive. It was the version I had a Video Wave 3, so it was a 55-inch, so a pretty big TV, and all of the sound system was in. It was about 6 inches thick, so if you looked at it from the side, and the entire sound system was built into the frame of the speaker or the TV. It's kind of, it sounds like a super duper gimmick soundbar type of deal, and I bought it because I was like, wow, this TV was so expensive when it was new. It was a couple of years after it had been discontinued, and some guy had it on Craigslist for months, and he finally took it down to something like $400, and I think I only had $300 to spend at the time, so I made him an offer. I was like, hey, would you take $300? He said he was moving, all this stuff. So yeah, I ended up, he accepted my offer of $300. So I went and listened to this thing, and I mean, as I love a good audio gadget, honestly. If we were all stuck in the fundamentalist audiophile type of sort of archetype, I guess you'd say, we'd all have giant rooms that were treated and humongous monoblock amps. If we were going to be complete fundamentalists about it, yeah. I mean, you can go all the way and, you can only have, a giant, Class A amp and all this other shit. But what I liked about Bose is that he sort of figures out how do you, and no one actually does this in the audiophile community. It's like, how do you make something really small and sound good? And that's pretty cool, honestly. This TV had a sub built into it, and it was pretty weird. So it was 3.5-inch drivers in a little package that was in a transmission line that sort of scaled the TV, and then you had 7 drivers up here on top, and then you had 2 tweeters on the side of the TV that they called phase guides. These phase guides, they were supposed to, as they're advertised, make sound where there are no speakers. And they actually, so Bose makes a lot of weird shit. They're kind of research oriented. They're always kind of thinking of weird random things, honestly. They made a seat for truck drivers once that stopped them from hurting their backs, that kind of bounced with the truck they were driving. They even did some work on car suspensions. Weird shit, honestly, which is really cool. And this Phase Guys product was actually started as a project for making an echolocation walking stick for blind people. That it would, make a sound and bounce it off a wall. And the person could tell roundabout, how far away that boundary was and that kind of stuff. Well, they ended up using it as a tweeter, and this thing was, for like theater stuff, like the episode of Game of Thrones, Beyond the Wall, where Dany comes in her dragons, that TV rocked that scene. And I couldn't even describe it as a soundbar because it was fucking cool. It was kind of weird for music. You'd get like large voices kind of on the left and the right side of the TV sometimes, or like the imaging just wasn't right for a stereo recording, but for like a surround sound recording, this thing was fucking cool. And it was a single TV. There was no attached sub, nothing. It was a remote, a TV, and what they called the console, which is basically the preamp. And that thing was sick. What the guy failed to tell me on YouTube, what the guy failed to tell me on Craigslist was that the TV was breaking. And, it had a Samsung TV panel, and this TV next to me is actually a Samsung. And I actually had some panel problems with it, and it's only a year and a half old. But luckily Samsung was cool enough to fix it out of warranty. This TV would start to fizz. So like on black menu screens with like floating titles like you'd see on Netflix, it would like randomly just like fizz for a second, and then it would be fine. So it was kind of a weird issue that I kind of didn't really, I was like, shit, but I got the TV for such a little amount, and it was so cool I decided to keep it for a while. So I kept it for a while, and it was cool. For movies, like I said, music was weird. The stereo balance they didn't quite get right, but for movies it was a cool thing. And so I registered this product, I do with a lot of the new products that I buy, but it was a used product. I heard that there was a lifetime service on this TV, so I thought it'd be a good idea to register when I got it, so I did. And finally, about a year down the line later, the issue started to bother me enough that I called Bose about it. And they troubleshooted the TV for me, and they told me it was broken. And they're like, "Sir, we're so sorry, but it appears your video wave is broken. Not to worry. We are sending you a Bose 650 system for free and no cost to you." And I'm like, I'm not really familiar with all the numbers that they have of the new products that they do have at the time. And so I'm like, "Is that like a sound bar? I mean, what you're gonna send me a sound bar, I guess?" And she's like, "Oh no, sir. You can Google it. Actually, it's called a Bose Lifestyle 650." She's like, "You can Google it if you want," and I'm like, "Okay." So I Google it, and it's of course their flagship system. That's $4,000, and I'm like, "Wow, you guys are sending me this system for free?" And they're like, "Yeah, we offered lifetime service on this video wave that if you bought it, we would service it no matter what. But we don't make parts for this TV anymore, and we don't make TVs anymore. So we do apologize that you will have to buy your own TV." But you are welcome to keep, actually, what she first said is, "Let me try and find a junk removal company to get that TV out of your living room." And I was like, "Wait, you're just going to throw it away?" And she said, "Yeah, it's broken, so yeah, we're just going to junk it." But she says, "You're welcome to keep it and sell it for parts if you'd like, or just keep it and use it till it breaks." I'm like, "Okay." So, like a week later, and so Bose sends me this emailed receipt too that says, "Hey, we're shipping a 650 system to your house for free, $0.00." And so of course it lands in my spam folder because no one gets a $4,000 system for free. So I eventually found this receipt, in my spam folder for this free Bose system, and I used it for almost 2 years. I just recently sold it, and I think I get $2,400 on eBay for it, so not bad for 2 years of use. I kept all the boxes and the manuals, of course, like I do with most of my audio stuff. That little system was awesome too. I mean, literally, speakers about a little bit taller than this beer can here. And I remember I put it on Craigslist after a while to see if anyone had any interesting trades. And I saw this guy. He had some kind of physically beat up original Nautilus 802, B&W Nautilus 802s they worked fine, but they were a little ugly and there were some scratches on it and stuff. And he was asking like $4,000 for them. And I just had the system for about 6 months at that time. So I was like, I wonder if he'd be interested in a trade. And so, sure enough, he actually agreed to come and listen to him. And he was like, I'm pretty open to Bose. I had this crazy theater system, but, I'm going to be living out of my RV for, several months to a year. And it would be cool, actually, to have a sound system that fit in my RV, so I'd love to check this out. He came over, we threw on Mad Max and Fury Road. And I cranked it louder than I had before because I was in an apartment then, too. And that thing... wow, like, it was pretty fucking good. I mean, it's a full 5.1 system, and the speakers are omnidirectional, so you have two drivers that face each other, and like it's kind of like a B&O design where they have that little sort of spinner top thing in the middle that disperses the sound, kind of like a tulip. So these are 360. They're omnidirectional speakers, and they were actually really good. I enjoyed that system a lot. It was actually pretty good for music. Pair of stereo audiophile speakers are better. But that thing, it would get crazy loud, and you had this great surround sound separation, great dialogue from the really thin center channel and all this stuff. But he ended up wanting he wanted that system plus $1,000 for those 802s, and I just wasn't prepared to do that. So I let the trade go. But I got a Bose system, the 650 system, for free. And that's what's cool about Bose. They will, if you have a product that's out of warranty and you call them and you have a problem with it, they'll help you with it. If you're a registered owner like I was and you have something crazy like that video wave, they take care of you like no other. I could not believe they sent me that system for free, but they did indeed. That's my rant about Bose. Pretty cool stuff. A lot of interesting bass driver designs from the 90s. Their old 701 Series 1s with the dual bandpass bass driver, and later on they had an isometrically loaded woofer system that was really cool. I like the weird Rube Goldberg contraptions that Amar Bose has made, and I enjoy them too. So that's my opinion on Bose. I think if you're an audiophile and you haven't really played with them and you like audio toys, I think Bose is fun if you can get them cheap enough on the used market. And, you know, who knows, maybe you'll find a video wave. They're all probably dead now, you know, but I think they stopped making that TV in 2014 or 2015. But they are cool contraptions if you can find one. I definitely recommend listening to one if anyone ever asks if you want to listen to their video wave. So that's my Bose rant. I hope you had a beer with me, and like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you guys soon.